Hey,
What's up?
can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Not much, not much. I mean, you can you can start. I may just have to take a phone call.
No problem. No problem. I will go ahead and get us going here. We got the music playing, and you just cue in when you're ready, okay?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm here with you now, but I
Okay.
may have to take a phone call. If I do, I'll just go mute and I'll come back. All right.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Corner to Corner Wrestling Radio C2C Radio Show. We're live on Spreaker.com/corner to corner, C2CRadioshow.com, and all of your favorite podcast distribution sites. I'm Stan Grubb, my tag team partners. Rob's running a little behind today, but we are live with Brian Taylor. What's up, Brian?
What's going on?
How's it going, man? Fresh
Oh,
off
it's
of
going good.
SummerSlam. You feeling the SummerSlam hangover?
No, I didn't watch SummerSlam.
Didn't watch SummerSlam. Well, you're not alone.
No.
Although they said 59,000 were in attendance. I read yesterday that it actually was more like 50, maybe even 48,000. WWE getting a little gratuitous with their with their ticket inflation numbers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody does it, I'm sure, right?
I mean, they got comp seats, they got media seats. I mean, it's not exactly like there's not a lot. So I think what happens a lot of the time is people forget that, this is a business, but there's also still relationships to uphold. I mean, I can give them a hard time because it's just funny, but I don't, fault them for it. I'm sure AEW's got about 1,000 to 1,500 at least comp seats, media seats, the whole nine. So it doesn't bother me.
Listen, the practice of inflated numbers is probably goes back to the dawn of mankind.
Right.
I don't understand. All right, so without sounding bad here, at the end of the day, what does it really matter?
I mean, I don't know if it really does.
You know what I'm saying? I think too many people. I think sometimes we put too much emphasis on things like that.
Yeah.
Again, this goes back to WrestleMania 3, right? Wasn't that Pontiac? Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's been proven that they were off by a bit, right? And I'm sure, I'm 100% positive that there have been New Japan shows that were off by a bit, NWA shows, WCW, like the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Even on the local level, there's 20 in attendance, and when you look at the camera, there's only 5, right?
Right.
Well, maybe they went to the bathroom. I don't know where they are, but they're at concessions. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again,
Montana match. He said they're at concessions.
Yeah, I think sometimes I won't say read in, but we fixate a little too much on numbers.
I think sports fans love their stats.
That may be true, but a lot of times, though, that we don't celebrate when we should celebrate. We try and again, I'm not necessarily saying you in this case, but I think sometimes you may try and tear it down. You know what I'm saying? But and not like crazily, but I think we should celebrate. I think this is the highest SummerSlam gate. Now, of course, inflation plays a part in that, but I mean, I think the WWE come out and said like this broke like 4 or 5 records.
Yeah, it was a box office smash. I mean, I gave Sonny a hard time about it, but the truth is, it really did. It did some pretty impressive numbers for Peacock. Um, and we talk about him a lot, but we were talking a little bit about Dom Mysterio last week, and he is having a really positive impact on NXT ratings right now, as is the entirety of the Judgment Day. And that can be attributed to a lot of things. I joke about it, and to your point, sometimes I do tear it down, and it's fun to do that. But at the end of the day, you have to recognize facts, right? And I mean, when you see a lift of over 100,000 viewers consistently, there's interest there. Obviously, he's doing something, so that is a positive.
Well, yeah, but you know, again, the numbers say one thing, but we're taking a main roster and moving them down to inflate the number.
Yeah, and that's kind of the nature of the beast. You would hope that would have a lift
right,
from anybody from the main roster.
Sure, but I've kind of discussed this before. I'm not a fan of having to drag somebody from the main roster down. I'm not a fan, again of special attractions that show up once a year. I'm not a fan of that. Like, to me, NXT is a proving ground, right? Well, let's let them prove it without having to rely on, a main roster talent.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, half of these, not half, but a large majority of these people, once they hit the main roster, are gonna just like fall out. They're gonna disappear. I mean, that's the WWE's MO. I mean, it's been that way forever and a day. And
I need to pause real quick. I'll be right back. So I'm just gonna pause the recording here. I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm.
All right, sorry about that. Took a moment to get everything back up.
Give me just a minute. Now I got a phone call.
Got it. This is the way that live radio goes, guys. Sometimes we got stuff that happens in the middle, and we just play our best. Sorry for the dead air there. Just had to handle some stuff. But so when Brian comes back, of course, he'll elaborate on his point. But it's interesting, SummerSlam. The show itself was not a bad show. I wouldn't necessarily classify it as greatest of all time or anything silly like that. I mean, I saw some, and it's not just our I call him a contrarian sometimes, but not just our friend Sonny in the C2C group, but it's also quite a few fans that have called it an amazing show and a lot of other things. And, I personally feel like it is okay to really celebrate those numbers because those numbers are a big deal. I mean, 59,000 is a huge number for attendance. 50,000 is a huge number. Hell, 40,000 is a huge number. So we're not talking about, an unimpressive statistic there. And then when you look at some of the matchups, make fun of it all you want, but Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler in the MMA fight, and no, I'm not being coerced into saying this, even though the fight itself was not great, it did establish, for how long we don't know, but it did establish Shayna Baszler as the person who put Ronda Rousey out of WWE. Again, we don't really know how long that's going to last and how much momentum it will carry. But if Monday's any indication, last night is any indication, they're making a clean attempt. We'll see what happens in the next few months. I think I predicted last week that maybe 6 months down the road she'll be unfortunately shuffled right back down to where she was. But I think in the moment, it's a very positive step for her. Another really good match that came out of SummerSlam was Drew McIntyre and Gunther. Now, this was also on at the same time as Collision. Not that I think Collision ate into their viewers, because I think we're talking two separate audiences, but the matchup that was happening during Gunther and Drew McIntyre was CM Punk and Ricky Starks. So imagine, if you will, I'm sitting in my chair, and I've got Punk and Starks on the TV, and I got SummerSlam on my phone. The rest of the night, I've got SummerSlam on the TV, and I've got Collision on my phone. So it's just kind of how that goes. I think with WWE, we get very inclined to make fun, and it's because they're the big dog, right? It's because they are the big player in the game. And it's also because Vince and all these other guys have been drugged through the mud, so to speak, that it's easier to, I don't want to say drag them down, but yeah, kind of bury them, make fun a little bit, joke, whatever. But at the end of the day, you still have to look at it and go, okay, well, there's a reason they're making billions. Now, could they be making more? Absolutely. They could be doing a lot more better business, but they still remain top of the food chain. And that's okay. Their realm of the food chain, so to speak, is, and I think I said this in the C2C chat, but basically their food chain is sports entertainment, TV show with wrestling sprinkled in. And there are statistics that back that up. For a 3-hour show for Raw 2 weeks ago, it was approximately 16 minutes of wrestling. 3 hours, that's 180 minutes. Out of that, 16 minutes was wrestling. That's embarrassing. But that's a WWE show. They're doing skits, they're doing segments, they're doing interviews, they're doing video packages, montages, you name it. Now, in AEW, I think their percentage is probably closer to that of maybe 70 or 80%, because they still do backstage interviews, they still do some brief video clips, promotional stuff like announcements for Tony Khan, which, it happens maybe once every few months, but maybe it's even a higher percentage, maybe a higher minute count. But this past week, yesterday, last night, Monday Night Raw, I would say had, if I had to average it, and of course I'm not looking at commercial minutes and all that stuff, I would say they had a huge increase in wrestling minutes. So, and evidence of that would indicate that the show was actually better. You can make an argument that Triple H has really made some positive changes, at least last night. There is now a report going on. We don't know if it's true, but there's a rumor that says that once the Endeavor deal is closed and WWE is officially part of Endeavor, that Vince will be leaving. Supposedly he signed a 2-year contract, though, so I'm confused as to how that would be possible, unless he's just chosen, hey, I've done my part, I did the sale, and now I'm going to step down. I respect that on either side. Allegations aside, you have to understand that Vince McMahon has done some stuff that we probably won't talk about because it's allegations, but he's also done some pretty good things for his business. I wouldn't say for professional wrestling, because you're going to start all kinds of a shitstorm with different fans. But when it comes down to it, it is really a truly exciting time, because we're seeing numbers lift on all sides of the platform. Whereas AEW is a wrestling show with some entertainment involved, WWE is a TV show with wrestling sprinkled in. That's the difference. Impact is certainly more of a heavy wrestling product, but even they have, backstage skits and segments, character vignettes, things like that. Ring of Honor has always been, and I think will forever be, a strictly wrestling product with interviews from time to time, and maybe video packages because of the fact that they're owned by Tony Khan. You look at some of the promotions that are around the world as far as like independence, Prestige, Defy, those are just some of the bigger ones. They are, of course, wrestling heavy, but they're not on television. They're on like internet pay-per-view, so they don't really have a reason to try to mix in that much of it. Perhaps they would if they had that kind of a presence. It would depend on the TV deal. If you look at Major League Wrestling, they just recently were on Vice, and their product is primarily wrestling based, very similar to that of how Ring of Honor's presentation is. So yes, this is. I said to Brian a few minutes ago that we as sports fans love our statistics. You have to remember that any statistic can be skewed. So that episode of Raw that had 16 minutes of wrestling, while embarrassing from a wrestling fan perspective, what was it building to? What was the goal? If we had a copy of the layout or the script, maybe that script's goal was to generate interest in Brock versus Cody, and that was really the only focus. Now, granted, that's a heavy focus, but that's what they do. So you have to look at each thing with the proper lens. Um, we debate back and forth in our chats and of course here, but at the end of it we always will look at it and go, okay, well, like it or not, you're still going to have, and Brian's called them bobbleheads, asshats, you name it. I've called them sheep. Rob, I think, has called them sheep too. No matter what, you're always going to have that audience that is, I'm WWE. I've been watching them since I was a kid. I'm going to keep watching them now. And that's cool. That is okay. But you're also going to have that same dynamic that watches only AEW or only New Japan or New Japan and all indies. Or you get my idea. Long and short of it, we should be able to, I agree with Brian, we should be able to celebrate these successes and look at them for what they are. We'll talk a little bit more about SummerSlam as he comes in because I'm going to get some of his opinions. I don't know if he watched it, so we'll gauge that. FTR had a solid tag title defense on Collision against Brian Cage and Big Bill. When you look at these guys, man, holy cow, they work with everybody. Brian Cage and Big Bill, formerly known as Big Cass, that's an actual team that I would love to see continue. Just a big guy dynamic. Brian Cage is ridiculously agile for a guy his size. And Big Bill is no slouch either. So that match was hard hitting, and I was really impressed with it. Ricky Starks and CM Punk. Well, I didn't quite get my prediction right on that. But who knows? There's still time. This past Monday on Raw, we had a prediction. At least I put it out there on I put it on Twitter and I put it on X. And I put it in the C2C chat where the build-up was Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes, and Seth Rollins against Judgment Day. Sami Zayn gets jumped in the back. They show that he's got an elbow injury, very nasty looking, like a bursa sac injury, similar to what Cena had back in 13. Anyhow, Sami Zayn can't make the match, so now they need a partner. Shinsuke Nakamura steps up. So I immediately say, hey, here's what's going to happen. Nakamura is going to turn at some point, and he's either going to be facing Cody or Rollins at SummerSlam. Well, at the end of the match, everybody's celebrating. The good guys win. And it got to 11 o'clock, and I'm like, well, shit, I was wrong. But then about 60 seconds later, he hits a face kick right to Seth Rollins' face. And what do you know? I actually got it right. So that was kind of nice to be a prognosticator and get it right every now and again. Chew on that, Meltzer. Oh, boy. Let's see here. Tonight is Dark Side of the Ring season finale, and tonight's episode's focus is Marty Jannetty. I can't wait to watch this, and I'm going to have a good conversation with Brian and Rob here in a few, but the conversation I want to have is Marty Jannetty's impact on tag team wrestling. Because when you look at his run with Shawn Michaels, say what you want about Michaels, but the tag team run they had, Jannetty seemed like he was the more solid performer for a large part of it. So when we looked at even possibilities at dream booking back when I was a young kid, like in 1990 and 91, when the Rockers were really, really seemingly headed towards the top in WWF, it was kind of hard to focus on whether or not they'd ever split up. But it seemed to me back then, I remember telling my brothers, because they were wrestling fans also, that if I had to choose, it'd probably be Marty that would break out. Of course, we now know that Shawn Michaels is Mr. WrestleMania and all that stuff, but it's interesting, the dynamic, because Jannetty continued working through just ridiculous injuries, and tonight's episode is going to go all over that, I'm sure, but his name becomes a part of wrestling vernacular as the tag team partner that, for whatever reason, won't make it. Ken Anderson, Mr. Kennedy, referred to tag team partners as the Jannetty. I think there were references to the Jannetty of tag teams back in TNA's early days. WCW, I think, made references in their later days, and Impact even made references to that in different points. So, I mean, it has become part of the vernacular. I mean, who could forget the barbershop episode where Michaels throws Jannetty through the barbershop window? I'll never forget hearing Bobby Heenan say, "Did you see that? He tried to jump through the window. What a coward." You know, and by the way, that segment also reminds me that Bobby Heenan had these subtle inklings of like compassion, like that just so out of character for him that it made you bite even harder into the segment. He's like, one's no good without the other. They need each other. He gets like, he almost sounds emotional during that segment. I'll never forget it because that was my favorite tag team in wrestling, and I remember it so vividly. There's even that we talk about the Mandela effect, where people say that, remember when Shawn Michaels super kicked Marty Jannetty through the window? Well, of course, that's not what happened, but that is the thought process. Everybody says, yeah, he super kicked him through the window, but he didn't. He super kicked him, and then he threw him through the window. But there you go. Okay, so let's see here. This past week, we had the street fight, the parking lot brawl between the BCC and the Best Friends. I bring this up because I caught a video clip of Jim Cornette from his podcast talking about it, and then talking about Blood and Guts as well. And, you know, it's interesting because we've talked about Jim Cornette and how he's really earned his right to give his opinion, as outlandish it is, but his contributions to the industry has already proven that, hey, if he wants to, you know, say what he's going to say, he's earned that right, no matter how silly it may sound, because he did it. He made the sacrifices. He did the work. It's kind of weird when we hear a guy like Vince Russo who really didn't do the work and really took shortcuts. And some would have an argument that Eric Bischoff didn't do the work, although, you know, he did cut his teeth in AWA. He made his way up through the ranks in WCW and ultimately parlayed that into some TV appearances with WWE and then later with Impact and with his infamous run. But at the end of the day, a lot of people would probably make arguments that he took shortcuts too. Either way, you hear Cornette and he's talking about Kenny Omega, calling him twinkle toes and saying, you know, making fun of Mox, where he's run into the ring and stabbing people in the head and the gut and the face and the arms with a screwdriver when it wasn't a screwdriver. I'm not sure how he missed it, but you literally see Mox pull out the fork from, you know, I think it's in his shirt or something, but you see him holding it up before he finally starts stabbing the way that Cornette describes. But to me, it was one of those things where you're looking at it, you're watching it, it's like, oh my God, you can't believe it's happening. But Cornette talks about it like it's outlandish, like, why would they ever do that? There's a bed of nails and blah, 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 blah. You know, I get it, you know, maybe the hardcore wrestling's not your thing, but I can remember countless bunkhouse brawls, scaffold matches. Those aren't really new concepts, by the way. These were NWA, WCW, World Class, USWA. And, oh yeah, there were people using belt buckles, spikes from shoulder pads. You know, does any of that ring a bell, Mr. Cornette? I don't know. Maybe it's not too far off the mark. I will say that I kind of agree with him on the broken glass bit. That was a bit much, especially because 4 different people took a back bump right onto the glass, and I don't know what it's made of. I think that Rob would know. It's a Hollywood term, but four guys take different back bumps on the glass, and not a one of them come up with any kind of lacerations or cuts on their back. It's not until anybody takes a bump on the bed of nails or the thumbtacks that you really see any kind of, you know, lacerations, cuts, whatever. It was just weird to hear Cornette. He's always got to jazz it up, and I think he probably does it more for his what does he call his family? His cult of Cornette, you know.
I'm
think
back.
I hear him out. There he is. Welcome back.
Yep. So I missed what you were talking about. I had an important phone call from work I had to deal with.
Yeah, no problem. I've been running all over the place as far as topics is concerned, but what I was mentioning was tonight is the season finale at Dark Side of the Ring. Tonight is the Jannetty episode.
Yes.
To me, if you're a wrestling fan of any certain amount of time, you should watch this episode. You need to see, first off, who Marty Jannetty is. I think he is one of those performers that honestly got a bad shake, just got a bad deal. I think he got kind of screwed in the breakup of the Rockers. I am a huge Shawn Michaels fan, but when I look at it objectively, I have to recognize that Shawn Michaels could have easily been the quote-unquote Jannetty of that breakup. It could have easily gone one direction or the other.
I don't know about that. The Heartbreak Kid, Marty Jannetty?
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, you and I have talked about it a couple times before, and I want to say Rob has too. Haven't we had conversations as to how we thought about Jannetty back in the day, between the two of them, who would actually be the star? Not now, of course, because we know what we know, but back then, before we did.
I don't think so. Listen. So I don't think I ever would have looked at Jannetty and been like, "Yep, he could have done what Shawn did." If that makes sense.
I feel like when I look back at it, and of course, the 90s, 91, 1990, 89, that's where the Rockers in WWF really have, in my opinion, a meteoric rise. Like, they shoot up as far as popularity. They're all over all the posters, T-shirts, their signs. This is back where signs really weren't that big of a deal. You would see a lot of them for them. And, of course, they had a lot of the teenage fans, the teenage girls and all that, just like the Rock and Roll Express. But when I remember thinking about it as a young fan, I remember saying, if I had to fantasy book, I would have thought that Jannetty was just the more athletic of the two and the more apt to have success. Not to say that, I mean, of course, we know what we know now, and Shawn Michaels is Shawn Michaels, right? But I will always have an opinion that says I feel like Jannetty kind of got screwed.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say there wasn't a little of that going on, but at the end of the day, I don't think, even looking back, I don't think Jannetty could have pulled off anything remotely close to what Shawn did. I mean, I think when the Rockers made WWE, you started to see the Shawn's separation, Shawn's rise. Mm-hmm. Again, I think you saw that. Like, it wasn't like they flipped a coin. To me, it was like you could watch it.
Yeah.
And let's take away from the extracurricular activities that were going on between the two at that time. I kind of think it shows just on the way that, again, Shawn did start to move up and become what he was. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
It's a warning too to wrestlers out there that get into, I don't want to say believe their own hype per se, but Jannetty did make some questionable calls as kind of the business manager for he and Shawn at their early days. He told Vince that they were going to go to WCW when they'd had no conversation with WCW. He tried to, I guess, strong arm his way into a better money deal. And that was what ultimately caused Shawn to say, you know what, I'm not going the same direction. I'm going to do my own thing. And so they talked about the plan to separate the two, but it was Jannetty who ultimately succumbed to, for lack of a better word, his demons as far as addiction was concerned. And that ultimately cost him his job in WWE. So maybe to your point, Jannetty would have been his own worst enemy in that situation.
I mean, I don't know about own worst enemy, but again, I think you can go back and look like side by side and just see like which one managed to push through.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not like Sean didn't have his own demons he was fighting at the same time.
No, he was just as deep into it as Marty was,
Yeah,
if not
yeah.
deeper. He just didn't get caught.
Oh, well, I mean, I think they were probably in it really deep, because you hear all the things about, Sean's attitude and,
Hmm. Hmm. Even back
the
then.
stupid stuff. Yeah, even
Yeah.
back then. Um, I don't know, man. I just, there was a time, right? If I remember right, there was a time they were, you know, started singles at the same time, and
Hmm.
both of them had a chance to push through, and Sean managed to push through and found the right gimmick. I guess you want to say, and Jannetty didn't like.
I know as a young fan, you weren't really a WWF guy. You were more of a WCW NWA guy.
Well,
Jim Crockett.
no, no, no. I wasn't a WWE per se. I did watch the WWE,
Okay.
but I also watched the NWA. I watched or AWA. I watched USWA.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Mid
Yeah.
South. I watched it all. I watched ESPN. Right. NWA was my favorite, or NWA WCW. However,
Hmm.
what Crockett Promotions. Let's just call it that.
Right.
Right. I don't remember watching too much Smoky Mountain. I did get to see some Smoky Mountain later. I guess maybe when it was his second go round with Cornette, maybe.
Hmm.
Um, but for the most part, I watched any wrestling that was on, and it just so happened that Flair and the Horsemen were my favorites, followed
Yeah.
by the Koloffs, followed by the Road Warriors, followed by Magnum TA. You know what I'm saying? The
Hmm.
well, not really Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express. There were more wrestlers from Jim Crockett that I um, watched and paid attention to than the WWE. I mean, I'm also a big Freebirds fan,
Yeah.
so I watched or paid attention more to the Von Erichs and them, and wherever when the Freebirds would pop up, I paid attention to them. Same thing with the Road Warriors when they were AWA in the what the hell was that? The Showboat. Um,
Showboat. That's
I forget the name of it.
shit. Is that Mid South?
No, that was AWA. The Showboat. I'm pretty sure that was AWA. Mid South was.
No, that's a
Uh,
sport, not Sportatorium, but yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right.
yeah.
I just can't remember what it's called.
Um, yeah, but I mean, it was like they did it on the Showboat.
Hmm.
That was AWA. I'm pretty sure. Um, to me, I didn't get into the cartooniness of the WWE or WWF at the time. Right.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean I didn't watch it. That just doesn't. That to me, that means it was just lower on the list.
Yeah. So the
Because
reason I asked it though was I know it wasn't always your. From what I've heard you describe, it wasn't really your primary. Your go-to was usually NWA. But if you're watching it all, you're watching it all. I'm not saying that you weren't. Well, when Michaels and Jannetty broke up, did you feel like Michaels was immediately going to be the guy to go out on top of that, or did you think Jannetty had a fighting chance?
I mean, so I know I didn't pay attention to it. Right. I remember when they were the Midnight Rockers and they were fighting with Summers and when is
And
Summers
Rose.
and Rose?
Yep.
Yeah.
Playboy Buddy Rose. The
Yeah.
four-way diet.
So I mean, I remember them then. I don't think they
Yeah,
ever won that tag team title. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they did as the Midnight Rockers.
they did, but it was only for a couple of weeks.
Well, okay.
They
So,
were snake bit when it came to tag titles, man.
so I don't know if they were snake bit, but I think it was a missed opportunity for both promotions not to have put that title or given them longer runs with that title.
I mean, imagine a more long-term feud with the Hart Foundation.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
would have been amazing.
yeah. I mean, I think Summers and Rose lasted damn near a year.
Maybe
I
more.
mean, it was some crazy feud, but it was enjoyable feud. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? It was a good feud for me. But to me, I liked them as the Midnight Rockers.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't particularly care for them as the Rockers. The other thing you got to remember too, when they were the Midnight Rockers, while there were good tag teams, they were they to me they were so young in their careers.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of get overlooked when they go to the WWE. I think they're just overshadowed. I mean, think about it. The British Bulldogs, the
Mm-hmm.
Hart Foundation, the Killer Bees.
The
I mean, who doesn't
Killer Bees
love
were
the Killer
definitely
Bees?
right. They were underrated. They
Yeah,
do not get enough credit for how good they were.
yeah. I mean, there were so many different tag teams in the WWE
Mm-hmm.
or WWF at that time. I think the Rockers just get lost in the shuffle,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm not really. I don't remember being a fan of them as the Rockers. I remember liking them as the Midnight Rockers. They were the underdogs. They were always having to prove themselves against, especially Summers and Rose. I mean, again, that's a feud. I may forget like some of how the matches go, but I mean, I'll never forget the feud itself. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you know me, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm more of a heels guy,
Mm-hmm.
right? But when they were the Midnight Rockers, I liked the Midnight Rockers, even though they were clear, clear ripoff of the Rock and Roll Express. But
Mm-hmm.
hey, it's wrestling. Why can't we, right?
Hey, if in wrestling, when you're stealing, you've stolen at least twice.
Yeah.
That's no
So
secret.
yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I didn't like them as the Rockers. Because again, when they were in the WWE, the Hart Foundation, I absolutely love the Hart Foundation. The
Mm-hmm.
British Bulldogs, I love the British Bulldogs. The Killer Bees, I love the Killer Bees. There were so many other tag teams that, to me, they just get kind of shuffled in like the middle of the deck, and they kind of languish there,
Mm-hmm.
probably too long. I think if they'd come in, given them the hot hand, and let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
You could have easily done to them what they did with like the Rock and Roll Express, and again, I'm not trying to harp on anything, but the way I remember the Rock and Roll Express, and again, I'm sure just based off of my age and my memory and things watching so much wrestling, things kind of get shuffled to the back and forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my memory of the Rock and Roll Express, right? So Jim Crockett was on CBS. It was on an actual affiliated network.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you watched it first thing in the morning. Then you had like TBS in the evening, 6:05, and then you had it at like 11:30 after the news to
Mm-hmm.
12:30, 1 o'clock, whatever it was, whenever it would come on. So in the morning, this is how I remember the Rock and Roll Express. In the morning,
Right.
there's a package we got this great new tag team coming, the Rock and Roll Express. And then that night, not at 6:05, but at midnight, it's the Rock and Roll Express versus the Russians. And they beat the Russians first time out.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is how I remember. Again, my history could be wrong, and again, it was like, holy cow, where did these guys come from? Because, before the Rock and Roll Express for me, right? You had, the teams I paid attention to were the Legion of Doom, was straight power and destruction type tag team. Ole and Arn, Ole and Tully, whatever, they were just like rip you apart. They would just rip you apart. Same thing with the Russians. They were just, Nikita was a monster. And then, the Rock and Roll Express show up, and they got the tassels. They're all about rock and roll. There's some high flying going on. There's a double drop I've never seen. What is this move? The double drop kick. What the? I mean,
that's what I remember of the Rockers, because that was the first time I saw that. I didn't see the Rock and Roll Express until '92, and that was old tapes that I found in like a video store after I had seen. Because I followed for Sting and Flair for 1990, like the Great American Bash where Sting beats Flair. But I didn't really have a whole lot of familiarity. But then you start seeing old footage, you're like, holy crap, who are these guys?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the Rock and Roll Express was a little bit like their engines just went.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had an endless battery.
Yeah, and for a young guy, even the WWE, like, to me, nobody had what the Rock and Roll Express had.
Right.
I don't remember seeing them before Crockett. It's possible, because again, on ESPN, you were exposed to so much different wrestling. So it's possible I saw them before that, but I don't recall ever seeing them before that.
Mm-hmm.
And right out the gate, it's just like, it's go, And again, that's the way I remember history. And eventually the Rockers show up, and, to me, it's kind of like the Road Warriors and Demolition.
That's a good comparison. I like that because, see, I didn't know a lot about LOD or the Road Warriors. But when I saw Demolition the first time, I liked them, but I instantly said, oh, I've seen a tag team like them. That's the Road Warriors.
Yes.
So, yeah, and I bet you a lot of WWF fans did that. I bet you a lot of them were like, no, that's the Road Warriors. And then people are like, no, that's not the Road Warriors. That's freaking ripoff.
Well, so I would imagine there was probably a group of individuals that will, because they saw Demolition first, will probably argue that the Road Warriors ripped off Demolition, not realizing the Road Warriors had been around. Oh, by then probably longer, 6 years, maybe longer. But that's okay, right? Mm-hmm. They just weren't exposed to it.
Because I think Demolition doesn't get enough credit for being how good they were.
Oh yeah. I mean, we've joked about it, but I think Demolition was great. Was great. Mm-hmm. They were just, to me, they were too much. I mean, there's no nothing that really separates them. Mm-hmm. As far as I'm like, to me, that's a straight clone. And it's fine because the Demolition, in their own right, it's not like to me, it's not like fake Hall and fake Nash.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Demolition balled out.
Well, they also have said in interviews multiple times, "Hey, yeah, we know the comparisons. We get it. It makes perfect sense to us." So they never hid from it. They embraced it and tried to
Right.
make it their own. And
Yeah,
I think
and it's, oh yeah. I'm not um, disputing they didn't. I still would have liked to have seen, a good, let's fight over this paint type.
yeah, that would have been
you
cool.
know, yeah. Um, but again, it's a missed opportunity that you're never going to see.
Hmm.
But that, again, that does. I'm not taking anything away from them. But again, to me, that's kind of like the Rockers and when they came to the WWE, they were almost watered down to me compared to the Midnight Rockers.
Seeing their footage from before they got there, I would agree. Very similar to how they did the the sheep herders.
Oh yeah. Well, I think you would have had to tone them down.
Yeah, they were pretty violent back in the day.
Yeah,
That's fair.
they were legit violent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because and then when you had, who was it, Dan Spivey as the third, when
Hmm.
he the third sheep herder at one time.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean they bordered on, to me, not quite like Abdullah the Butcher type scary.
They were
Like
close though.
yeah, they were close, especially in some of the other federations outside of the Crockett's.
So I don't remember seeing them much on TV. My oldest brother Chris does, because he was a big fan back in the day. And one of the things he told me, I'll never forget, we see the Bushwhackers on Saturday Night's Main Event or something. He's like, "What the hell did they do to those guys?" And I was like, "What? They're the Bushwhackers." And I thought that's just who they always were. He's like, "No, that's not who these guys
Yeah.
are." He starts telling me stories. I'm like, "Oh my god." Like, it was almost embarrassing to see it, because then you're like, "Wait, these guys are supposed to do what now?"
Yeah, so like if you this is I guess the good thing about Peacock, because you might be able to go back and find something. If not, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube.
The old YouTube.
Yeah, but I mean the sheep herders were violent.
Yeah.
I mean they were straight violent. Like there was no bones about it.
Yeah, Cornette may have made fun of Mox. We'll talk about this in a minute, for sticking forks in everybody, but he wouldn't have dared say that about the sheep herders, because they'd have actually did it to him if he said it.
Yeah, well, I mean it's just like Abby. You're not gonna say nothing to Abby.
Hell no.
Abby's he probably walks around with a goddamn fork.
Okay, so imagine you're you're a young wrestling fan. You've seen your first Abdullah the Butcher match, and you've got to sit on an airplane next to him.
Listen,
That would
so
scare the shit out of me.
while Abby is probably the next guy that, if he was within 8 hours, an 8 hour drive of me,
Hmm.
and was doing like a signing or a meet and greet, I would probably go, and I would pay money for Abby just like I paid for Flair. Right? There are very
Yeah.
few I would do that for, but without a doubt, Abby is my all-time favorite outside of Ric Flair.
Hmm.
And even to this day, Abdullah the Butcher scares the piss out of me.
Hmm.
Like, I understand he's, quite a bit older than me. And I think he walks with a cane or whatever. And maybe if we got into a scrap, I might be able to take him, but it's the fork that's going to come out of nowhere.
Or how about the
That,
way he used to wrap the razors on his fingers?
well, yeah, but everybody did that. Like
Dude.
everybody.
Yeah, okay, everybody did that, but Abdullah the Butcher was the master of it. There's a difference between, like, Ric Flair with the razor and Abdullah the Butcher with the razor. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Oh yeah. And plus the crazy thing about Abdullah was he was like legit.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He could legit fight you and you're not gonna win.
Hmm.
Like what was he, like a black belt or something? And
Yeah, he was.
one or two different forms or something. Like, he was legit. And I don't know if that scares me or if it's the fork that scares me. But even to this day, Abdullah the Butcher has made such a mark on my brain
Yeah.
that he scares me. And that's absolutely crazy. I'm
I'm trying
50
to
years
think of the
old.
wrestlers that used to scare me back then. Andre scared me when I was a kid because he was just he was mean. Okay, so you want to know one guy that I would have never wanted to cross paths with because of what I saw in WWF? Bad News Brown. He was intimidating. He wasn't scary. He was intimidating. Like, he was like one of those guys that he would do whatever the hell he wanted, and you could believe anything he did. Like, he was just that good of a villain, and he just didn't give a damn. He would
Mm-hmm.
just do what he wanted. He should be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that should be in the Hall of Fame that aren't in the Hall of Fame, and there's some that'll never make the Hall of Fame. There's some in the Hall of Fame that shouldn't even be in the Hall of Fame. We've
Look at
had
you,
that
Coco.
discussion before.
I mean, it's honestly, I think Marty Jannetty has a Hall of Fame worthy career. Yeah, he's done some scary shit, some crazy shit, but at the end of the day, he has had a Hall of Fame worthy career.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I could agree with that one.
Really?
Yeah. How many times were they tag champs? Because he's not going in by himself.
AWA, I'm gonna say once for sure, maybe twice. WWE, once. No, he was tag champ in WWF 3 times.
Okay, but he's still not going in by himself.
Former Intercontinental Champion, WCW TV Champion. I think that's the extent of his championships as far as major TV.
Yeah, I think there would be others that are more worthy to go in. I mean, maybe he goes in sometime. But again, when I think of Marty Jannetty, I always the Rockers. And I'm sure there's a lot of people like that.
I was saying while you were on your phone call how I'll never forget Bobby Heenan talking about how one's no good without the other. They need each other, and like his compassion that he very rarely ever showed towards a good guy just made you bite into the segment even more. So that when Michaels finally throws him through the window, you hear him go, "Oh, I knew he was going to do that. That Jannetty, he's such a coward. He tried to jump out the window to escape." I mean, it was just classic Bobby Heenan.
Yeah, it's I don't know, this Hall of Fame could be
People are trying to make a play for Ahmed Johnson to get into the Hall of Fame. Tony Norris is a former guest of where did we interview him? This very ring. Great interview, very nice guy, but could you put Ahmed Johnson in the Hall of Fame? I mean, respectfully, I don't know that he had that kind of a career.
Oh, again, it's like Jannetty. I mean,
yeah, it's subjective.
You think he should. I think he shouldn't. I'm sure it's probably the way with others like that. Again, to me, there are some clear cut people that should go in. You know what I'm saying? And then there are others that will never get in. That there's always going to be people. They should go into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
To me, I think what the WWE does with their Hall of Fame, and I think this is probably another reason why you don't see but so many people get in, is like a lot of them, to me, is what they did in the WWE. Whereas, I think it's time the WWE stop doing certain things and realize their position in the world and really expand it out a little bit more. I think that would probably be better for them in the long run than to just focus solely on the WWE. Because now we're at a point, I think, with the WWE that there's only so many you have left that truly earn, that truly deserve a spot in the WWE Hall of Fame. And I think if you expand it out, because again, you are kind of the historian now. You have all the footage on the Peacock. Well, stop focusing so much on this as your sandbox. No. You want to represent the number one company? Be the number one company. Stop these little hangups. Kind of like when AJ Styles showed up. You know what I'm saying? He never did anything else, in the WWE, so he's just a put, or whatever Bradshaw said. Oh, that's not true, because I'm pretty sure you never won the IWGP World Heavyweight title. I think he was a multiple-time winner too, or something.
He held it 2 or 3 times, I think.
Yeah, held it in. Held other titles as a world champion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's time. Like, we just need to get over some of this pettiness. That's just, that's my thing.
So, did you watch any of SummerSlam?
Nope, okay. Not at all.
So,
because I was at work.
So. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you were working Saturday because I had texted you about Diablo. I remember. Yeah. So Collision and SummerSlam aired at the same time. So that was difficult. I'm watching FTR versus Big Bill and Brian Cage at the same time. SummerSlam is on my phone. And then it's time for Punk and Ricky Starks. So I got Punk and Ricky Starks on the TV, and I got Gunther and Drew McIntyre on my phone. And then I've got, Brock and Cody. Of course, I'm watching that. Which, folks, I know there's Brock Lesnar fans out there. I understand, but if you've seen one Brock match, dude, you've seen them all. They're all the same damn thing. Suplex, 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 Kimura lock, F5. Stupid pose, stupid chant of something, something, bitch. That's what he does. That is Brock Lesnar. That is his matches. Now, it doesn't mean he sucks, but I don't buy into the he's such a legend. Okay, sure, okay, legend, right? All right, and he's gonna get in the Hall of Fame, I'm sure. Blah 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 blah. But I don't get it. I don't see it. It's not my thing, not my bag. As Austin Powers would say, that's not my bag, baby. I just don't get it. But whatever. But the tout is performance is legendary. Come on. Now we're just going too far. The match wasn't horrible. Him and Cody put on a pretty fair match. I will say, Cody, if you're going to continue to rip off moves from different people, I know that's part of your thing. Let's not do the Kimura lock. Not your finest moment. He looked like he was trying to do what the Acclaim want people to do, and he was trying to scissor Brock Lesnar. It just wasn't a fun look. I don't need to see that on TV. Maybe next time, just don't do the Kimura. Do the F5. Brock won't mind. Trying to think the other match. Oh, I said earlier, Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey in their MMA fight. No, the fight was not good, but it did accomplish the goal. It did put Shayna in the light of the woman that ran Ronda Rousey out of WWE. And last night, they did solidify that with the way they presented her. And it looks like they're going to go with that. They're going to try to solidify that role. But I still stand by my prediction I made last week. That lasts maybe 6 months, and she's right back to women's tag matches. because they just don't know what to do with the women's division. And it's clear to me that, every now and again they'll get something right, and then they'll go, maybe we'll do this now.
Well, I mean, again, I go back to, I say Asuka. She was undefeated in NXT, and she comes in the main roster, and first or second match out or whatever it was, lost.
That didn't make any sense to me then, and it still doesn't now. When I look at what she did over the course of, God, how long was she undefeated? 2 years, 3 years? Some crazy
number.
Yeah. And she comes in and loses to Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair, by this point, has already held the women's title like 3 times. She definitely didn't need the victory.
No, I don't know. I don't know. It's weird though, like the way they book certain things. I mean, I think Natty should have held that world title
at least
God knows how many times by now.
Yeah, I agree.
And
just out of respect for what she's done for the division.
Well, I mean, especially the time before or when Charlotte and them were down in NXT. And she was without a doubt the best wrestler on the main roster at that time. She wasn't, she wasn't a diva. She was a wrestler. And I don't know what that maniacal guy up there in Stanford, his thought process sometimes.
Talk about Gomez Adams and his beard.
It's just weird.
I wonder if he calls his wife Morticia. Yeah, oh well. Joke went and jumped the shark. I tried.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't funny. It's all right.
I tried. It was not all of them are home runs, okay? Look, sometimes you got to bunt, okay?
That's funny.
Oh man. Jimmy and Jey Uso and Roman. I'm just gonna have to jump into the contrarian perspective and say this match sucked. It was like 15 minutes too long. Again, same spots we always get. No surprises, nothing new. And instead of an actual turn that would make sense, we get Jimmy Uso, who just broke away from the bloodline 3 weeks ago. And now he's the next guy to turn on and join the bloodline. Like, what? That's stupid. Like, why? This just gives more proof, more evidence to the fact that Cody Rhodes should have won at WrestleMania. And they should have just let Roman take some time off and been done with it. But now we're going to get Jimmy and Jay in a feud till Mania, apparently, which will suck balls. Roman's hurt, so we're not going to see his title on TV for a while. And everything stays the same for yet another year. It's gross. I hate it. No more. No mas.
See, I don't mind the bloodline storyline until what we're at now. I mean, I think you probably should have kept it together. Just have them continue doing what they're doing. Again, if Jay and Jimmy break apart only to have Jimmy go back 2 weeks later, that is dumb. To me, that's as dumb as what's that other group? Oh my God, my brain. The one that Edge was running.
Judgment Day.
Yeah, only to have, oh yeah, we don't like Edge, so we're gonna boot him out and put Finn Balor in.
Never mind that Edge had just done the most heinous shit to AJ Styles in the weeks leading up. We're talking concertos in the middle of the ring. I mean, this is all of this evil shit, but now suddenly he's put through a table and it's like, oh my God, we love you, Edge. Huh? Yeah. What?
Yeah. But again, maybe it has to do with the modern day wrestling fans, ADD or ADHD or whatever, where they can't get into long term stuff.
Yeah.
Again, it's like I put in the chat. To me, what I would have done is I would have turned Jay good, just Jay himself, only to have Cody and Jay somewhere form together. Have Jay even beat Roman. Let him win the title. Have Roman go take some time off for about 6 or 5 months or whatever. Cody and Jay are now fighting Sikoa and Jimmy and having a good old time. And, at Christmas, have a special show and Roman comes back and beats Jay, with a finger pushover or some shit like that. Just drive the crowd absolutely bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
And then Roman and Cody just go at it for a few months. It's not like Cody doesn't have friends, but I know, what did we just do with Cody? It was Cody, Sammy, Seth, and Nakamura turns and kicks Seth right in the face.
So did you see, I talked about that a little earlier, did you see in the chat where I predicted it, and then I was like, well, guess I was wrong. Oh, shit,
Yeah.
I was right.
Yeah.
We get to write it at 11 o'clock, and I'm like, well, damn, I guess he's not going to do it. And then you see him, he's just waiting in the corner. I'm like, oh, he's going to do it. He's going to do it.
Yeah.
I hope he gets a better run in the main event with Seth than he had with AJ.
Well, why? Yeah, but why would he? Because you still have Sammy and fucking Cody in the mix.
Yeah. Who will be the second world champ then? Who's going to beat Seth?
I mean, it's quite possible going to be Nakamura, but again, though, like the way that segment came off, they don't necessarily have to have Nakamura go after Seth.
It could have just been him turning and saying, "I'm tired of dealing with everybody."
Yeah. I mean, think about it. Next week, Cody. They showed Cody in a backstage segment talking to Nakamura. What are you doing? Why'd you do that? Whatever. And, Nakamura just like, I don't speak English or whatever. He'd done that before, right? Didn't he do that?
Yes. Yeah. No speak English.
No speak English or whatever. Yeah, I don't know English, bro. And then, as soon as Cody leaves, he hits Cody from behind. And, like, it's that easy though. Like, I wouldn't necessarily call it phoning it in, but when you have that many people in the ring, surely one of them is going to be like, what'd you do that for?
Right.
Now, it ain't going to be Seth because he got kicked in the face and he's probably looking for retribution. But I'm, if you're going to do it right, Cody or Sammy are going to be in the back and be like, hey, bro, what's up with this?
Oh, did you see Sammy's elbow? Ugh.
Yeah.
That was nasty.
Yeah, it looked like John Cena's from some years ago.
Yeah, that's exactly what it reminded me of from like 2013. I think is when he took on Daniel Bryan. It was right after SummerSlam.
Yeah, I mean it's just I won't necessarily call it like I won't call it lazy booking, but it's not thought out. Like you know what I'm saying? Like this can easily turn into Cody getting a couple of months in this because you could very easily turn into a quad type storyline. So I think again Cody's going to get sucked down into the mire over this.
Oh, they're going to find a way to put him, not push him down the card, but to keep him away from that main event place.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, they're going to find a way because they're going for the Rocky angle. I'm convinced of that. It's basically he's going to have to fight his way to get back to Roman.
I don't think they're going for a Rocky angle. I think he's a Rhodes. He's a Rhodes that talks shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, let's not forget at a pay-per-view, I think it was, you broke the throne. You don't think you're not going to pay for that one?
A lot of people are speculating that maybe that's why they didn't go that direction, was because they wanted him to earn his way back up.
Well, yeah, but it's not about earning his way back up. I want you to think about this. If you're Triple H, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your thing is the throne and the King of Kings and the sledgehammer, and ooh, you're not going to be a little pissed over that one?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how he felt about that.
All right, so let's try to understand Grub, right?
Mm-hmm.
I show up for a pay-per-view, my hair is cut like yours. The first thing you're going to think is, oh, this little son of a bitch is making fun of me.
Right.
And then we're probably going to have words, because that's just how it's going to happen. Because I would be laughing. I would be snickering the whole time. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's only going to make it worse. And you're going to be like, this son of a bitch. And it wasn't just the throne. Oh, my Lord. He threw shots at him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So you want to come back? Oh, yeah. We'll take you back. No problem. But screw what the fans think, because they don't know wrestling. I know wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
He is maybe a little get back. And depending on how angry they may be about this, next WrestleMania may not be a lock either.
Rob has joined us. He is here. What's up, Rob?
What's happening, fellers?
How you doing, man?
So,
Sorry I was late.
It's all right.
Last day before school, and all of a sudden, they remember, oh, I need this. So,
Yeah.
So what are you talking about? We're talking about SummerSlam?
Talking about Cody and how if he's going to be the main event of WrestleMania 40. Talking about kind of the fallout into Raw, where we basically have Shinsuke turning. We don't know if it's going to be him and Seth for sure yet. I think it might be, but it could also, we were just talking about how it could just be him having enough of all the BS.
Oh, like Shinsuke's like, I could legit kick all your asses?
I mean, yeah, it could be a situation like that, or it could easily be just him. Brian mentioned earlier where he's like, no speak English, like he did before when he turned on AJ.
That would be cool. I would love to see them take the training wheels and the guards off of Shinsuke and just let him, like we've seen hints of it when him and Kevin Owens fight, or him and AJ. Like we see hints of it, but then those in the back get back involved, and then they put the training wheels back on him. It's like, oh, no, no, no. So, I mean, we can only hope. But, I mean, like Brian said, he could be like, you know what? F you guys. You know what? I'll take my talent somewhere else.
Do you think that at WrestleMania 40, Rob, that Cody will be in the main event, or do you think they'll find a way to keep him out of there? I tend to think it's more of a foregone conclusion. Brian was saying he's not really convinced.
I think he's going to be the main event, but which main event? Are they going to put him against Roman, or are they going to give him the thanks for coming title that Seth has?
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, I'd like to see it because they've kept him prominent. I mean, granted, it's been Brock Lesnar. So my question from here is, how do they package him from here on? Like now that he and Brock have finished, what's going to happen? Is it going to be him versus Dom or whatever? Like, does he get some sustainable feuds? But then you got damn Roman, who can't. They won't let him lose to anybody. The only time he's been pinned is in a tag team match.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So here we have yet another built-up angle, and then it's like, nope, sorry. So that I feel like they're building up to. It's going to be The Rock and him, and The Rock will be the one that beats him for the Supreme Tribal Chief, or Tribal Chief Supreme, or whatever it's called.
Tribal Chief Supreme.
Tribal Chief double stamp, no erasing. I mean, they've hinted at that for weeks. If you watch the different videos and the vignettes and the different things of like the Samoan dynasty and how, well, Roman's the greatest thing that's ever come, except, since The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that eventually they're going to be like, Roman's going to be like, the only one to cement my legacy, I have to beat the one who I'm compared to.
That could be interesting. I mean, I don't really want to see The Rock come in and take a title match, but if the title's not on Roman at Mania, maybe.
But how do you get it off of Roman?
Hit him with the truck.
No, Jay takes it.
I could honestly see them doing that. I could see Jay, like, night one of Mania, Jay beats Jimmy to earn a right to fight Roman the next night, and he beats Roman, thus finishing that story.
Oh, I think it'll happen before then. If it's going to happen, it'll be before then.
Mm-hmm.
Again, to me, it's like, it's weird. To me, it's weird that they would do this. But this is a WWE type of thing to do. If that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, do I think he should get a world title shot? No. I'm talking about Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, he's predominantly a friggin' tag team wrestler. How often does he even wrestle singles? And like, you're doing this. And I can actually see him be the one to take it from him. A week, maybe 2 weeks, whatever. And then Roman gets it back. Because again, this is what the WWE does.
Yeah. I feel like when it comes down to Roman and how they booked him, I think that you could still do the so many days as champion, because just because he loses it and wins it back, I mean, you still add the total days. That's what they've done anyway for him.
Well, but again, the problem is with Roman is you made him out to be undefeatable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Again, there are times he should have lost, he didn't lose. There are times, he should have looked vulnerable. He didn't look vulnerable. And this is what you got now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you never know. Cody might very well cool off by the time WrestleMania gets around.
If Cody's history stands it, I wouldn't put it past him having another injury between here and Mania. I'm not wishing on the man, but he does have a history of getting hurt right about the big time, so. But I agree. I feel like this whole thing was cooked up late night at a hotel restaurant after one of the pay-per-views. The booking committee, the booking teams, the agents are sitting around. They're like, you know what? Listen to this shit. What what if we just had Roman keep it for some obscene amount of days, and then he loses it to someone like Austin Theory?
Oh my God! Don't do this
You know?
to me, Rob. No. Not Austin
Like he
Theory.
loses it to some dumb shit, you know? Like Baron Corbin's like down on his luck again, and boom. But I mean, I will say I'm surprised Sammy and Kevin have kept the belt as long as they have. I thought for sure they would have lost it by now. But I don't know. It kind of feels like they're on autopilot, and the only title they keep moving around is the women's titles. I mean, Gunther took on half the roster and still won.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Maybe he's the one that beats Roman.
have another Goldberg type thing. Gunther goes in with the IC belt and just says, "I got it all."
Well, Gunther's having a hell of a run as Intercontinental Champion. I mean, he is becoming the guy that's beating the Honky Tonk Man's record. And from what I've understood, that's the plan. They have no intention of taking the title off of him at any point in time soon.
Well, but I mean, they did that. They're doing that with Roman. Roman's surpassing everybody else, right? Gunther is going to pass the Honky Tonk Man.
Right.
You know, out with the old, in with the new. You know what happens? Eventually, somebody's going to pass 16 times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think right now, Cena is one behind him.
They're tied, I think.
No, I don't think they're tied. I think he's one behind him. Because I think he lost that one match where he was going to tie him. I think. You could be right.
I think Cena's at 16. But
I think
he
Cena
said he
has
didn't
said
want to break that one.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think Cena has said he's not going to, if he has anything to do with it, he won't beat it.
But, I mean, they'll all fall. You know,
I mean, look at Bruno Sammartino's record, you know, like shit. We thought we'd never see a day where, is somebody to keep the belt for 800 days. But Roman. Or look at Hogan. We thought Hogan would be the standard bearer for everything, forever.
Yeah. So apparently there was a question given to WWE, someone within there, about when will Roman lose the title, and they responded. It was a member of the media that asked him, and they responded, whenever he fucking wants to.
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of similar to what Roman said.
Mm-hmm.
Roman's been on. Maybe this was after Cody. This might have been after Cody, and you know, it was. You know, they were talking to him, and you know, he's like, "I'll be champ until somebody can take it from me."
Right.
You know, until somebody is, and I don't think he's talking about like in the ring. I think he's talking about everything that comes with it. You know, from the reported T-shirt sales to, you know, the way, you know, everybody boos him and he holds up that finger and everybody's like, "Yep, we're all with you, Tribal Chief." You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, they've done a masterful job with turning him around.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what he's talking about. There's like nobody that is as popular as he is. And that's kind of what they're talking about.
When they had their post-show media scrum, Paul Heyman said they were only in the third inning, that they weren't done yet.
Well, I mean, you think about it. Like, I feel like that's kind of what they're doing with Seth Rollins, is because they're trying so hard to take the limelight or the attention away that Roman has the belts.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to say, "Oh, look at Seth Rollins," and they're making him come out being more of a cartoon and more of a, he's out every week, he's here every week. But I just feel like as long as Roman's around, it's like when Big Brother's still there. Like, you can be the boss, but you ain't the boss.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like that their focus right now is on. I mean, it's almost like their run with Cena, except Roman had to really, really, change everything about him before he could really get to this level. But it's if you beat Roman now, do you risk losing money off of all the merch and all that stuff?
Yeah, but I mean, now he's not the number one no more.
No, right now it's Cody. LA Knight apparently his merch is picked up. By the way, last week we remember we said what merch does LA Knight have? 4 T-shirts on WWEshop.com as of last Tuesday, and all of them are basically the same design, just different colors.
Well, I mean, isn't that what Austin did?
Pretty much,
for
yeah.
the most part.
Yeah. Austin 316 and go.
Yeah, Smoking Skull. Yep, that's all you need. Just change it up every so often.
LA Knight.
Next week it's going to be a skull with flames.
Yeah.
Week after next, skull with smoke. Then we're going to do barbed wire. Yeah, I mean, you look at it and it's just, I don't think Roman's going to hurt on merch if he's not champ, because when he wasn't champ, he was still one of the top sellers.
Mm-hmm.
There was still that grassroots of people that were like, Roman, and now they've given the title to him. And the most popular question is, all right, when's he going to lose it? Who's going to beat him? How they're going to beat him? And, I mean, his merch is still going to sell. Shit, Cena's merch still sells, and he ain't been around in a minute.
Mm-hmm. I think he only shows up for new T-shirt designs, which isn't a bad idea. I mean, got to keep your checks coming in.
Well, I mean, the only person that's happy about that is the merch guy, because every time he did show up, he had like, here's a hat, here's a shirt, here's shit to give away, like.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, if they're going merch sales, then I mean, shit, he'd never lose, but it's going to be. I mean, I don't think his merch would hurt when he loses. I think they'll make an angle of it. The Bloodline shirts, the Tribal Chief, the Reign, the Number of Days, those are shirts that will always have on this shop, So, I just want him to lose. I don't like it. I don't care who. Let's give it to Chad Gable. Why not?
Chad Gable, ridiculously over in his hometown. The first guy to win in his hometown, and I can't remember how long, by the way. Won last night in a really fun Fatal 4-Way to win the title shot against Gunther. It's unfortunate because Gunther's probably going to squash him, but hey, still a good match.
Gunther's gonna kill you. Now, I can't believe they had Ricochet lose to Logan Paul, but
I kind of figured that they would do that. Logan Paul needs to get himself a win here and there so that he can continue to be somebody worth talking about for them. They're going to try to find some money out of their investment, so that made sense. It was more along the lines of, in my opinion, I just feel like they could have accomplished this with literally anybody else. It didn't have to be Ricochet.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, again, this is another one that you bring them in probably so you can lock them up so nobody else can use them.
Right.
And then you just don't use them. They if they allowed Ricochet to do what he did in the past,
mm-hmm.
Like, you could easily make money off of them.
Yeah.
And the closest they've let him do anything is when he did his whole with Logan Paul, where he did from the one side of the ring and jumped over the ropes and landed on his feet.
That was cool.
On the floor,
cool.
like
the Royal Rumble thing they did was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, but like ode to old Ricochet, that I mean, again, it's like if these people would get the bookers would get out of their way and just let Ricochet do what Ricochet does, let Shinsuke do what Shinsuke does, like you could just sit back and go, huh, okay, here we go.
Mm-hmm. What are you doing, dog? My dog is trying to stand on me. What are you? Ow, ow, ow! Don't do that. I'm trying to record a podcast. Ow! Stop it.
Get off the floor, then.
I'm sitting in my chair. Damn it! I just literally got trampled on by a dog. I feel so used.
Well, bitches be bitches, yo.
Yep, that they are. Oh, let's see here. When we look at what's coming up, we know that there is. Let's see here. Excuse me. We know that there is All In coming up. 79,000 is the projected number that they will hit. We now know that there is.
I thought they've already hit 79.
So the last number I saw confirmed, and I'm pulling it up right now. Bear with me. All In ticket sales. All In sells more tickets than Hogan vs. Andre at WrestleMania 3. This is per CageSideSeats.com at SB Nation. They are projecting. Let's see here. I hate when articles do this. They're saying that because the fact that WrestleMania 3's numbers we were talking about this at the top of the show. Remember, Brian, about the ticket sales from WrestleMania 3? They had 93,173, but it was actually 80,700. And so they're saying that the projection is actually going to be over 81,000 now. So it sounds like
but how many have
more
actually sold as of today?
All In ticket
Because I don't.
sales past 80,000 this past weekend.
Yeah, but I think there's still about 4,000 to go before they have to open it up.
Let me pull this up.
Where's WrestleTix or whatever?
Pulling it up right now. Reading your mind, sir. Reading your mind.
Because I think it's like set up for 85 or 86.
All right. All Out is almost sold out, by the way, already. Not a single match announced. Of course, that's 10,000, but still, not bad.
Yeah, I mean, after you pull off Wembley, you could probably put in a 4,000 seat stadium, wouldn't pay no attention to it.
Here we go. Current setup 84,048.
Yeah, I think that's about right. I don't think they've added to that. I think it's been 80-some thousand.
I mean, I think that it's speaks volumes for a majority of those tickets going on sale and selling out way before way before a single match was actually announced. I mean, realistically speaking, they sold 72,000 before Adam Cole and MJF were confirmed. It might have actually been 74. I'm trying to remember. I think it was actually at 74 by the time that got announced.
I think it was
nuts.
I think it was higher than that because I think they've been around 4,000 seats to sell for weeks.
So, that's insane. For there's only one one match announced. Like, damn.
No, it would be no different. Like, they don't go over there enough.
That's true.
Nobody goes over there enough. I mean, what was the Castle one?
Clash at the Castle.
Yeah. I mean, that was a pretty big arena. They sold that out, I'm pretty sure, with no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and some people are going to go just because it's at Wembley. So you could literally have private party versus, Ricky Starks as the main event, and people would be like, "Oh hell yeah, I'm there."
No, not at Wembley.
Oh my God!
I'm
No.
going to do that at Wembley, but I'm just saying, it's like the Super Bowl. It's like the Super Bowl. People go to the Super Bowl. Most people go regardless of who plays. There's people that go because it's at Wembley.
Yeah.
Davey Boy and Brett was a pretty big gate. That was in the UK.
Yeah, that was at Wembley. SummerSlam '92.
Yeah, but I don't remember if it was like, I know, but it ranks up there too as far as ticket sales. It's one of the biggest ticket sales, if I remember right.
There's a disputed number, but the number WWE provided was 80,000. I hate when they do that. 80,355.
Yes, I mean, okay, cool. It's a home run, right?
Right.
But I think England now has a track record of big time gate sales because you just don't do it enough.
Mm-hmm.
If you did it more often, not quite at once a year, but the number may not be as high. But then again, if you didn't do it at least once a year, it could quite possibly remain that way. Plus, AEW is, I think, got a bigger market over there than the WWE. Because I think over there, AEW is number one.
Yeah, and they've got more untapped potential if you really look at the breakdown. I mean, they've just...
Well, their streaming deal is better.
Yeah.
I mean, to get the network over there, you got to, get a string and run it to your neighbor's house and hope your neighbor doesn't turn on the shower. AEW is on TV.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think AEW is free versus having to pay extra to have WWE on.
Yeah. And I'd be curious to know if there's the tribalism over there that there is over here.
If if X is any indication, I would say there is. There's a crap ton of UK fans, and I'm sure our audience would confirm it as well. There's a lot of that tribalism. I don't know if I will guess and say I don't know if it's as toxic as the American fans do it, but it's there.
Well, I will say that if there are any of our C2C fans over there that wants to host the Triple Threat of Wrestling Radio for a weekend of wrestling, let us know.
Bring C2C to the UK. Let's do it.
I mean, I'm not above asking.
I've never been to the UK. I'd love to go.
Only where I've been is the airport. So,
Brian, you've been to Scotland, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, I know people over there. I could probably arrange for me to come stay over there with somebody, but not you guys.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Friendship only goes so far.
Right. So far for All In's confirmed card. Really, keyboard, we're going to do that? Okay. We got MJF and Adam Cole, FTR and the Bucks. Those are the two matches that have been confirmed. FTR and the Bucks, I so hope they do 2 out of 3 falls.
Oh, I just so hope that the Bucks don't win.
Really?
I said it.
Yeah.
I'm sticking to it.
Wow. I don't know. I mean, we talked about it last week a little bit about how, it's going to have to be a pretty special damn moment when FTR finally does drop the titles. And it's one of those things where, God, I don't know. I mean, the Bucks are certainly up there, but they haven't really been, in my opinion, in contention for the titles all year. They've really been doing more of the trios stuff, and so by that logic, from kind of a win-loss standpoint, you're kind of right. They really shouldn't win the titles.
I mean, FTR right now is special. It's probably like one of the only few acts out there that are special, right? So the WWE's got Roman and the tribal stuff going on. I think it's special. It's once in a lifetime for some people. Right now, FTR is the best tag team in the world. And it's special. Like, there's such an importance on tag team wrestling because of them right now. And I really think if you take that away from them, then you're going to lose out. If you don't believe me, just go look at what I posted that they did after AEW Collision went off the air.
Cool. Yeah, with Dennis Condrey.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
I mean, I think the only other thing they need now is just to have Bret Hart. Or, maybe we get him in Wembley. That would be cool. I imagine he might still be under a Legends deal though. Or Jim Cornette. He ain't got to be for nothing more than a one-off match.
I would love to see Jim Cornette come in and manage them for a match.
Yeah, just for one match. This would be the perfect match too, because he hates the Young Bucks. This would be absolutely perfect.
There's a rumor going around that Will Ospreay is going to defend the IWGP US title against Chris Jericho. I do not want to see that.
I hope that's a rumor too.
We've seen Jericho pull off some awesome performances, no doubt, but I do not think. No, I know he cannot keep pace with Will Ospreay. He just can't.
Very few people can keep pace with Ospreay.
Very true. And God bless him for wanting to try, but no, I just don't see that match being very good. And I feel like while I can appreciate what Jericho has done in his career, I just don't. Man, and I'm sure if he hears stuff like this, he's probably like, fuck you guys. I can do whatever I want, but I just don't feel like the match itself would be very good.
So I don't know about like how good it'll be, but I think if you're sitting on a gold mine, listen, I'll lay you money if on Wednesday night they went out there and said, listen, we're bringing Will Ospreay to the UK, and we're going to get Ospreay versus Omega 3. I'll lay you money that place will sell out. Like, it'll be done.
I mean, I thought that was a shoo-in. I really did. I thought Omega and Ospreay would be what you announced to really seal the deal.
Well, I mean, who
Especially
knows?
after
Maybe
Forbidden
we
Door.
still get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll still get it. But you want to sell that place out? Bah. We're doing number 3.
Right.
There's also
And
a
I bet
rumor
you it'll
that
sell out.
there's also a rumor that Sting is going to have his final match at All In.
Who would you put against Sting, though? For the honor.
Great Muta. I would have him come out of retirement for that last one.
I'd have Darby Allin do it.
See, that could be good too. That could be good. I feel like up until Sting did that dive where he just kind of mistimed it, hit his face on the table, I would have said that, you know, Sting could do whatever he wants for as long as he wants. But now I'm like, man, I just don't want to see. I don't want to see anything bad happen. So I'm like, whoever he gets in there with, it's got to be. I don't even like saying this, but it's got to be safe, so he can go out the way he should go out. You know what I mean? Like in a perfect world, if Flair was maybe healthier, I would say it'd probably be Ric Flair.
No. 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 No.
Listen to him. He just keeps going. No.
If they were both in their 50s, yes.
Yeah.
But they're not.
Right.
One's in his 80s. One's in his, 60s, probably. Sting, probably in his 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. No.
I mean, I felt bad for Flair when he passed out in the middle of his final match.
Maybe Jericho. Let Jericho do it. That'd be better than Jericho versus Ospreay.
Agreed. I absolutely agree with you. It'd be slower. It'd be fun. We'd have nostalgia moments. It'd be good stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't announce it, though. I would not announce it as his last match. I'd put the rumor out there and then make everybody tune in, and then have them do what all the good ones do, and just, leave the bad in the ring or something.
That'd be kind of cool.
Although I think I wouldn't mind Flair interfering. I think I'd be okay with that. Flair holding his leg down or something. But no, I don't want to see them in a match together.
Available for pre-order now, AEW collectible card game with the Versus system by Upper Deck. The starter set is only $28.
Where is that at?
That is on, I'll send you the link.
Yep, send me the link.
I'll put it on chat. Put it here too.
What's today's date? The 8th?
Today's August 8th.
All right.
There, I sent it to you.
When's it go live?
Hang on. Looking that up. 200 cards in the playable cards in the set. Wow, that's all 200 cards. Pre-order items are not yet available. Estimated release date later this month, August. Sweet. Here we go. Purse Slam Wrestling on August 4th. According to a press release by Upper Deck back in March, AEW will be taking the world by storm into this new two-player game. Players build a 60-card deck of supporting characters, resource locations, plot twists, and equipment to use along with their main character card. The objective of the game is to knock out the opponent's main character. That sounds an awful lot like Nitro.
Or Raw Deal or whatever.
A little bit, yeah.
Although I was getting ready to say, I think it would have been nice if they'd stolen a page on a Raw Deal, and you bought the decks for the individual wrestlers, and then you had to go find the, bonus cards or whatever.
The cards.
There's definitely a market there for that type of sale, like setting them up in decks and everything, and then you customize them like we did back in the day. I sent you a link that's got some screenshots of some of the cards. Man, these look cool. Cannot wait to play this. So the pre-order site
What
that
you're
I said
saying
is
is
28, and then the other one is showing 35.
what you're saying is I can't wait for you to buy them and then let us play with them.
Oh, I'm definitely buying it. Is that a question?
So what you're saying, there's a chance.
Oh, we will definitely play it, and we will film us playing it. We'll put it on our YouTube channel. Right now, we do have a YouTube channel right now, but it's just all archives of our shows.
Well, I'm about to dust my other Facebook page off and start using it more.
Okay.
Vlad Dragul's Fandorium Emporium.
Yeah.
I still think that's a cool name, dude.
Yeah, with September fast approaching,
It's
time to have some fun.
Whoever came up with that name is really creative.
Pretty sure that was probably me. So, but I don't know. Maybe y'all had a hand in it. I don't remember.
Oh my God. Maybe, I don't know. Somebody might have. I don't know.
I don't remember.
Maybe we should do what Brian said all those years ago. Check the chat. No.
Check the text. Scroll up.
Yeah, I bet you if you go back and look, I'm pretty sure we probably agreed on it, but I don't know who had the most idea on that one.
All that matters is that it flows well and it's good.
It's a damn good name. So, what will be? Do you have an idea as to what you're gonna bring it back with? Like what your next video might be?
Yeah. So I think the AEW stuff and the card game. Probably start doing comics. Just whatever action figures.
You know what I would like us to start doing, and I know we don't have a lot of opportunity right this moment, but perhaps down the road, I'd like us to be able to start doing some unboxings, just together, like with the card game, and then we haven't done it in a while, but playing maybe the DC deck building game, and then of course the AEW one that's coming out. Starting videos.
Well, I think my friend have really screwed up and missed out because the parent company for that DC deck building game is all the time on Kickstarter, and they've had some really cool fucking sets on there. Although I think they're pretty much all sets you can get, but I think like you can get a lot more because you joined the Kickstarter, you get a whole bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, I've noticed that there are, what is it called? There are a bunch of options available on eBay, but the exclusives are the things that are going to cost you if you don't donate to their Kickstarter.
Yeah. But I mean, the Kickstarter is relatively cheap.
Yeah,
I've thought about it.
The face value of the set.
Yeah, I've thought about it a couple times because like if you pledge a certain amount, you can get a nice box, and then if I think if you pledge another set, you can get the villains box, and so some of that. The game itself is pretty nice, so it's not hard to do. It won't let me bring up these stupid pictures.
I do have to get a new green screen. Tragic incident happened in the process of the move where it got torn literally down the middle.
Oh well, shit happens.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah. So when I get the Rogue from you, that might go up there, go on there.
Hmm.
I'm gonna have a bunch of free times on my hands. I'm just looking for something to fucking do.
Those sets, the X-Men '97 sets, look sweet.
Oh, it's a hot set right now too.
The points of articulation, the different points where you can bend and move the body parts, right up there with like GI Joe, only a little stiffer, so you don't. Because you remember GI Joes would get loose real fast. Like literally, you get them out of the box, and if you moved them any more than maybe twice, they were loose as hell. These stay in position, which look really cool. I've watched a couple of different videos of how people have displayed them, and I'm not a big like X-Men fan, but I love the Marvel Legends set, like the old school stuff. And this one I might have to just get into just because it's more the old school stuff.
Right. Well, I'd like to get the whole first wave, and then like put them in like almost like a cover type pose, where like Storm's up in the air, Cyclops has got his optic beams, Rogue is coming at you. You know, just like an action pose with all of them.
Yeah.
So, because I really think this will be I'm gonna keep working on this. I'll keep working on the superpowers, which I guess should be in stores. So I really need to pay attention and take a look.
I saw the classic Batman the other day at Walmart. I haven't seen the Tim Drake Robin yet, or the old school Robin yet.
So.
And Rob mentioned the Batman '89, but I haven't seen that either.
No, I don't think that's superpowers. Unless that's coming out somewhere down the line.
Oh, okay.
And it's only a Tim Drake Robin as far as I know. Because I have the Tim Drake Robin.
Oh, did
I
you?
bought
You got
that
it?
offline. Yeah, nice. I bought that online. Because, like, I was looking and it was selling out at places. Yeah. That's what it was. I was going to get the whole set from McFarlane. And Tim Drake was the only single figure that was sold out. So I was like, let me go find this. And so I found it and bought him just in case.
That's going to be one you buy two of. One to open if you're going to display it, and then the other one to sell or keep hidden.
Well, mine are all sealed still. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with them.
I believe mine are all sealed as well. I have a couple that are unpunched, but I don't guess unpunched really means anything anymore.
I might if it's graded, and so if you find a Black Manta, pick one up.
Oh yeah, that one looks really cool.
Yeah, because that's a Walmart exclusive, I think.
Cool.
Black Manta?
Yeah, Black Manta. I think you might be able to get it at one or two retailers online, but I think that's a Walmart.
Aquaman looks cool too. I like that one.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we've come up on it. We are at our time. I'm trying to think what is coming up this week as far as Dynamite, but I can't really put my finger on it. But you got Dynamite tomorrow night, of course. You've got the Marty Jannetty Dark Side of the Ring, which is on right now. The replay, I believe they do replay it at 11 Eastern, so you have an opportunity to catch that.
And Vice does.
Yeah, Vice does replays all week, don't they?
Yeah, like there's a day during the weekend that it's just Dark Side of the Ring all day.
Heels Season 2, Episode 2 is up on Stars. If you haven't had a chance to catch that, I believe Stars is still doing like a free trial where you can watch all of Season 1 and then hop in for Season 2, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, that's going to do it for us. Catch up with Rob on the Twitter bot, also known as X, at Rob Hefner C2C. Catch up with Brian at Vlad Dragul, VLADDRAGOOL C2C. And then catch up with me at Stan Grubb C2C and at C2C Radio Show for the show and C2CRadioshow.com. Thanks again for listening, everybody. We'll catch you up with you next week. Bye.